Hey, welcome to the Lawson Brothers podcast. My name is James. Here, my little brother,
Sam.
And we are so glad to be talking today. I'm excited about this conversation. Are you excited about this conversation?
Yeah, it's the last one of the season. First season.
Season 1. I was on the way up here, and Aaron was like, "Oh, it's not gonna be like the last one, is it?" I was like, "I don't know. We'll see. To find out."
Okay.
But
I don't know if you're being serious or not right now.
I want to hear some feedback. You know, like that's we'll see. Well, I want to hear. I would think it would be helpful maybe for us to ask our listeners. If we renew, if we get picked up for a season 2, what kind of content would be helpful? What kind of content would be encouraging? How do we help sharpen iron, if you will?
So you're kind of wanting more content ideas? Is that what
I think it might be a helpful thing to get from our listeners.
So two questions. I get. Is that what we're asking? Two questions.
Yeah.
Is there a need for a season 2? Should we do season 2? It definitely not going to happen just this summer.
No, not. It would be the fall. Yeah, at the earliest.
When we pick it back up.
Yeah.
So is there a need for a season 2? Should we do it again? And if we do, what would be helpful?
Yeah.
Those are two questions?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
So run with it. Talk to us. Let us know.
There you go. And can we just say real fast, man, I really appreciate all of you for listening throughout this season. We started this thing, has it been, 4 months ago? Something like that? 3
roughly,
months ago?
We're episode 17, so roughly 4
months ago. Yeah, I guess so. And, really, I'd never done a podcast. You'd never done a podcast. I listened to a lot of podcasts.
Right.
Never thought I'd be on a podcast. But
me neither.
We didn't really have a whole lot of thought or planning as far as what we wanted it to become necessarily. But at the same time, you guys have jumped in and listened, and we just appreciate your feedback and your encouragement, and hope that at the end of the day, this has been something that's been fun. It's been fun for us, but hopefully it's been fun journey for you, and hopefully helpful in your faith and your day-to-day life as well.
Yeah, we just got a notification the other day, and this isn't like a brag, but this is kind of cool. We reached over 1,000 downloads the other day. Did you see that?
I did see that.
Braden told us that.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
That's kind of funny.
That's wild.
But
we also had a comment on not this past week's episode, but the one before on YouTube that I thought might be fun to bring up here. You know what it was?
No.
This is pretty terrible.
This is pretty terrible.
That was the comment. This is pretty terrible.
Yeah, I like it. Who said that?
I don't know. Some guy. He didn't have a face or much of a profile.
Hey.
But that was his. Braden said it was like 2 a.m. that he got notified about the comment. So, and honestly, like if I was watching us at 2 a.m., I would probably think this was pretty terrible.
It's not meant to be this polished, beautiful thing.
Oh, man.
And when James says that we like literally came in and frequently come in without a plan, that could not be more accurate. That we don't come in without a plan.
Pretty accurate.
That's pretty accurate, right?
Pretty accurate.
Cannot be more accurate.
But yeah, and
we have an idea.
We have an idea, and we might get into some of that as we talk today. So, as we bring season 1 to a close, I thought it'd be cool today, maybe, and you can tell me where you want to go with this as well. But to kind of talk through, what have we learned over the course of this podcast journey? What are you taking away from season 1? How have you grown? How have I grown through this process?
Oh, so we're talking about podcast content, what we've learned from it.
Yeah, I think as we've been talking throughout this season, I think we've been creating content, all that, but I think we've also, at least for me, I feel like I've learned some stuff about myself and about what it's like to sit down and do this, So I thought that might be a fun way to kind of wrap up the season. And so before we jump into that conversation, I do have one more question I want to put out for our listeners today. I would love to ask what your takeaway from season 1 has been. So maybe you've been on this journey since episode 1, or maybe you just kind of came in towards the back end. But if there's been something that has stuck with you or encouraged you, we'd love to hear from you. Love to get some feedback. Or if you're like the guy at 2 a.m. on YouTube who thinks it's pretty terrible, you can let us know that too. We're just glad you're listening.
He's listening to it at 2 a.m. for some
That's
Reason.
Right.
There's some reason.
That's right. That's what we're trying to go. Somebody told me one time, and this was a funny comment I got. A friend of mine was like, I couldn't sleep the other night, so I played your sermon and then I went to sleep. And I was like, hey, thank you. I think
ASMR, I guess. James's voice.
What does that mean?
It's like
is it like white noise or something?
No, I'm not going to do it because it's just really creepy. But ASMR, they would be like, and it like,
that
they like whisper,
yeah,
and they like crinkle things around the microphone.
Oh, that's weird.
To like trigger your sensory stuff.
I don't like that.
I don't like it at all. But I'm not going to reveal who they are.
Okay. But
there are some people that I know, and that I know fairly well, that really, really love going to sleep to some ASMR action.
It is.
Don't even Google it. I wouldn't Google it, but they put
it's like
it's like. If you could like,
if it's just like,
have you ever like
noises?
Have you ever had somebody like whisper in your ear and it like make you get tickled or something like that, and it make you feel weird?
Like Judah likes to tell secrets, and he does that all the time.
When Judah tells secrets, and it's like, anyway. I just like felt you in my back, kind of thing.
That's because he like spits in your ear at the same time he's like talking to you.
That's essentially what ASMR does,
Okay.
And so maybe James, if they fell asleep to your voice, maybe you have a soothing speaking voice.
I don't know. Maybe just boring. I don't know.
I don't know.
I was about to say something. I forgot what it was. I go to sleep now with a sound machine. Ever since we've had kids.
Okay.
Both the boys use these like white noise, the Dome, I think it's called, sound machines. And like now, if I don't have a sound machine, it's like we've always had the monitor in our room, where you can like hear the sound machine from their room. Yeah. And I can't sleep without it now.
I've always used an air purifier.
Yeah.
I've always called them air breathers.
Air breathers.
Air breathers. But it is nice going to sleep to some natural sounds.
That's funny.
Natural sounds.
I wanted to show you this. I don't know if you saw this or not. Our mom sent a photo last night of the middle school yearbook from Pickens Middle School, I believe is where it is. And did you see this?
Yeah.
There was a story in there from a teacher who's been teaching for 23 years, and she was asked about her the funniest story from her time in teaching. And this is what she said: "I was teaching Sam Lawson."
Oh gosh.
Did you read this? Did you see this?
Yeah, I did.
I was teaching Sam Lawson. This would have been, all right, if this is middle school, 6th grade math, that would have been what?
That would have been 2010.
2010.
Wasn't it the year of 2000?
13 years ago.
Wow, is that 13 years ago?
This is her. So her funniest story is from 13 years ago. 13 years of students have passed through her class. And when asked about her funny story from teaching, she went to Sam Lawson in 2010. And this is what she said: "I looked up during a test, and Sam was not at his desk. I saw him crawling across the floor. And when I asked him why, he said another student was trying to get his attention, and he crawled over to find out what he wanted. The other student wanted to tell Sam that his zipper was unzipped."
Hey, man, I don't have anything to say about that.
In the middle of a test, you left your desk, crawled across the floor so that another student could tell you to zip your pants.
I remember that.
You remember that?
I vividly. Yeah. The tiles in the school were cold.
Yeah.
And like, I'm noisy no matter what I'm doing. And I just remember like
in a normal situation.
I felt like I was like trying to be like an assassin in a middle school class, just like super quiet, nonchalant. And I wasn't necessarily like a tiny middle school.
No, you're a big kid. You've always been a big kid.
Yeah. And like just.
What did she say when she saw you?
I just like.
How did that story end? Like, obviously, it didn't end there.
I think it was just more like disbelief.
What are you doing?
And what are you doing? Because like, if you're think about it, if you're cheating, crawling on the floor is a terrible way to cheat. So she didn't get mad at me for cheating. Yeah, she's like, surely Sam's smarter than this to crawl across the room. I did some weird stuff in middle school in class. Like, I don't need to get into this.
No, we should
probably
we
because
not today. Maybe this is season 2. Memories from middle school.
Maybe we can. Golly, maybe season 2 should just be about middle school, and that was a lot. There was a lot that went down in middle school.
No truer words ever been spoken. Middle school is a lot,
and a lot goes down in middle school classrooms and hallways. That was the initiation.
So did you get in trouble? What'd you say?
No. It was just like disbelief and go back to your desk.
Zip your pants.
I wasn't being a bad kid. I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with your zipper down, dude, to get written up. Far. I'm just no. I didn't do it. I didn't do any of those things. Though. I just went back to my seat. I went and went back to my seat.
There you go.
And she laughed, and people laughed, and it was just
go back taking your test.
What are you doing?
Were you done with your test?
No, dude.
I started the test.
I used to take forever on tests. But good. no math.
That's funny.
No, not really on math.
That's funny.
More like the longest testing environments that I ever had to sit through was like, please select the best sentence from the following.
That's like ACT.
You have like A
stuff,
through D that all look the exact same, and then E says all of the above.
Always E.
What am I supposed to choose?
You get all the above? Go with E.
I always got to go with E.
Go with all the above.
All the above.
You were a funny kid. You really were.
Dude, I don't even remember.
You were a lot of fun as a kid. You're still a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Well,
you're still funny.
You're nice. You're nice.
Appreciate it.
It's funny. Life takes away your ability to innocently have fun.
You think? That's a whole other conversation.
It can. Where's your joy coming from?
Tara and I were actually talking about that last night a little bit. You can get in a routine of just going about doing what you do and your rhythm of, the day. And all of a sudden it's like, wait, we hadn't, when's the last time we laughed? When's the last time we, had a moment of like real joy and fun, that type of thing.
Laughter is helpful.
Yeah.
And it's healthy. Yeah. There's a proverb that says a cheerful heart is good medicine.
It's good medicine
for the soul.
Yeah.
It's good medicine.
Yeah. You've been doing the proverb challenge?
Honestly, I can't lie to you, bro. No, I haven't. I read proverbs pretty often.
Okay.
But I haven't done like the read today's proverb for today thing. I'm sorry.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
We're all on a journey.
We're all on a journey. Yeah, no.
So let's jump in. What have you learned over the course of this time podcasting together? The limit as far as like the boundary for this conversation is on this podcast. Is that kind of what we're trying to stick to? That sounds good.
Thanks for clarifying. That's helpful. What have I learned on the podcast? I think words matter. That's my first reaction. Words matter, and they're worth thinking through. Go. Let's just fire.
Just rapid fire?
Yeah.
I have learned, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that I've still got a lot to learn.
Golly, yeah.
And in so many ways, I feel like, man, I'm 30 years old, and on one hand, it's like, wow, how am I 30 years old? But on the other hand, there's so many people out there who are so much wiser than me, who know so much more about the world than I do, who know so much more about the scriptures and, more well-versed in theology and doctrine. And then, I want to continue to cultivate a depth within myself. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
I want to be the kind of man one day that can speak to different issues in culture and politics and religion and the business world, and like I want to be like, I guess the term would be kind of like a Renaissance man, that can move through different arenas and areas of life and have something like valuable to contribute and say. And I don't know, I feel like in a lot of ways, I told somebody the other day, at 22, I felt like I had all the answers. Like I knew everything I needed to know, and I think the older I get, the more I realize that what we say, I don't know much about anything.
Right.
Still got a long way to go.
Yeah.
Dude, this floored me the other day. So Tim Keller, are you familiar with Tim Keller?
Yep.
Passed away last week, and For me, he's always been one of those guys. Like I love reading his work. The Reason for God, I read that in one of my seminary classes. Really powerful. King's Cross is about the person and work of Jesus. Great book. The Meaning of Marriage is the best book on marriage that I've ever read. But Keller, man, he's just brilliant. Prolific writer, author, speaker, pastor, pastored Redeemer Press in New York for 34 years. Died at 72, okay? He never published a book until the age of 57. Which to me, when I heard that, I was like, there's no way. And then went back and like looked it up, and I was like, no, he didn't. He spent, he's 30, so he's been pastoring Redeemer Press for 34 years. So he's planted that church at, what would that be, 38? He's 72, is that right? Yeah, he planted the church at 38 and basically spent 20 years just pastoring his local church before he began to write and produce content for the church at large, and founded the Gospel Coalition and all that. But I read that the other day, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of wisdom there, and I think maybe I can learn something from that.
I agree with that. Next thing I learned have learned a little bit from just doing this is like the importance of striving to learn how to be consistent over a long period of time.
Okay. What you mean? Keep going.
Yeah, just thinking big picture. Like for me, it's humbling to be a 23-year-old and people are like, we're listening to y'all talk.
Yeah.
That's pretty humbling and terrifying at the same time.
Right.
Because I definitely know I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
Like, no doubt. I don't even have all the vocabulary that I try to use on this podcast. But
I think that, can I just say, those might have been some of my favorite moments from this season when you use a word and it's like, I don't think that means what you think.
Some of it might be intentionally to be,
because you're funny.
Done to be funny.
And sometimes, and I realized that about, I don't know, episode 3 or 4, maybe. Yeah. I think you were saying some things just to see what I would do.
100%.
And part of it, you and I have lived in different places for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And so we've seen we've talked, but we've seen each other in person maybe 2 to 3 times a year.
Maybe.
Because, when normally when we would go to the upstate, you would be at a different place because you're in school or doing your stuff at, where you worked previously.
Yeah.
It's like we didn't get to spend a whole lot of time in person together.
No.
And it took me a few episodes, but then I finally realized, like, he's messing with me.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for daggum 23 years. You're just poking at me to see what I do.
I always poke at you. I love poking at you.
I know.
Yeah, and you poke at me too.
I know.
It's still weird to be around you, to be honest with you.
It is.
Like, I'm not used to that.
But I think this has been great for us. Like, I've loved, I've loved getting to sit down and talk with you.
Life has happened to both of us in some ways.
Yeah,
that,
totally.
Now we're kind of like coming back to not where I'm really thankful that our parents taught all of us as their children, Emily included, to like love one another and like look out for each other, and they modeled that for themselves in their marriage. But it is funny. I totally get what you're saying. Like, the last time we were around each other regularly was basically pre-college for me.
Yeah, you were. I mean, I was 21 and you were 17, 18.
Well, if you were 21, I would have been.
That's bad math.
14.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. Emily would have been 18.
Emily was 18.
And a lot of life has happened to her too. Yeah. we've all.
Well, I take that back because you were. I guess that is true. I guess it is right because I got married at 22 and you went to college.
It would have been more like.
Oh no, you were.
It would have been more like
25.
Huh?
I was like 25.
Yeah,
when you were 18. That's what I was trying. I was 25. You were 18.
Yeah, I would have just finished up freshman year pretty much.
Yeah.
In college.
Yeah.
Because whenever you moved to Somerville was when I pretty much started in Simpsonville.
That's great.
A little after that.
Yeah.
About 6-7 months or so. I think after you first got settled down here and Tara and Noah got down here. But no, yeah, life has happened in some ways, and we've grown up a little bit more than we had when we were first, or when we were around each other regularly last.
Sure.
So it's been fun for me on the podcast to like like I'm still your little brother, and there's very much.
Don't forget it.
I'm never gonna not be your little brother, and you'll always make fun of me, and I'll always dig at you.
Absolutely,
but
as it should be,
as it should be, as it should be. But what has been a lesson that has been fun to learn is like some stuff doesn't have to change.
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like some stuff, some of the valuable things in life, like what I was talking about a minute ago, kind of like learning to be consistent over time. Like if your personality is to be bubbly and to have fun and to be kind of like loose a little bit, you know, with your structure a little bit, and God uses you and grows you to be more like him. Obviously not being complacent, you know, not like learning not to be complacent, and like not having a work ethic would be bad. But some things like our dynamics as brothers, like that doesn't have to. Right. We don't have to hang that up.
Yeah,
you know,
no,
and put that on a.
Can I?
Put
all
that
right,
on a shelf.
I'm going to ask a different question.
Yeah.
And then if it's okay with you, I'm going to answer this question first.
Yeah.
I want to ask you what you've learned about me.
Whoa.
And I'm going to ask me what I've learned about you.
You're going to answer this first?
I'm going to answer it first.
Okay.
And I want to. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I've learned about you.
I'm pretty nervous.
Over the last couple months of doing this podcast is that you are at your best when you are yourself. And
dude, you're gonna like make me cry.
Don't cry. No, don't cry. I'm serious. I think there've been a few of these conversations where whether it's, you know, a topic maybe you weren't comfortable with, or like a moment where you felt like you had to, I don't know, speak to something that maybe was kind of above your pay grade, so to speak, where you felt like you had to. It was just clear you were trying to say things, you know, in a way that wasn't you. And then the moments where, like, I think people have really resonated is when you are being yourself, when you are still being the 23-year-old version of Sam, you know. And so I just would encourage you in that to let God use you, you know, be who you are. That's
a really difficult thing. I don't want to be all personal and stuff right now. Maybe we could be, but that's really that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
Especially just in general, I feel like that's a hard thing to do.
Absolutely.
Be yourself around whoever you're around. It is difficult because I love having fun. I love being a goofball.
Yeah.
I love joking around and like cutting up, messing with people.
Yeah.
I also love I love not being taken 100% seriously all the time. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. And I love like not having to like take myself super seriously,
dude,
all the time.
All right.
Does that make sense?
Well, all right. That just sparked something. And I think, dude, like we've talked about this in leadership before, like I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast, but offline, like authenticity in leadership is gold. Like if people don't know you and trust you, they won't follow you.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah. I was going to say too, just as far as like the process of reflecting that we're doing on the podcast, I think it could be fun because a lot of our listeners are at Pinewood with us at church. I was thinking that it could be fun to kind of pull in some of our reflections on Pinewood so far as well.
Okay.
In some ways. And this was really kind of connected to what you observed about me. Like, we were at dinner one night after a band rehearsal. Okay. And a lot of our band was eating and we were just hanging out, which is fun. The team really loves to do that.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's a lot of fun. And we were at Kairos. And Kairos?
Kairos.
It ain't Kairos?
No, it's Greek for opportune moment. Divinely appointed opportunity.
Kairos.
I used to call it Kairos too, and then I think it was Mike O'Neill correct me. He's like Kairos.
Well, okay. I've been saying Kairos this whole time. Kairos.
Kairos moment.
What was it? Kairos and this feels weird. Can I just say Kairos?
You can say it if you want.
I'm just gonna say Kairos. Was it Kairos?
This is Somerville, not Greece.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm not Greek.
You're not Greek.
I'm not Greek. It's confirmed that I'm not Greek.
There you go.
Sydney was at the table. We were all there talking about that. I'm sorry if I'm not supposed to say names or anything like that, but
too late.
We were all sitting there hanging out, and we were talking, this big group of us, and she was like, when I first met you, I thought you were like this really regimented, schedule oriented, OCD, like head down to yourself, kind of like just very serious guy. And it just made me think a whole lot. But she said, but you're like a ton of fun, and like you like cut up and like enjoy life and stuff and like having a good time with it. And the whole group, it was funny because the whole group kind of like started jumping into that conversation a little bit. And I just like in a weird sense, like felt like, I'm welcome to be myself with these people.
Absolutely.
And it was really fun. And since then we went to, and this is kind of to your point too, and maybe we can, it might trigger something that you want to speak to.
Well, I'm going to tell a story as soon as you make this point here.
Okay. So. Well, at the mountain experience this year, had a great friend come and join the mountain experience band this year, and was singing with us this year for the first time. And that individual told Dustin, who is one of my best friends, right? Told Dustin that I've never seen Sam like this before. Like having fun, like cutting up, and I've never known this side of him. And it did two things to me. One, it kind of crushed me a little bit because I've been around this person for a number of years now, and that person's seen me in a lot of different environments, doing a lot of different things, leading a lot of worship and stuff, and a person told Dustin, like, this is like the first time I've ever seen this side of him. And Dustin was like, he's just being himself.
Yeah. I love that. I think that there's something in there
that hurt me, dude.
But there's a great principle in there, that as people, we flourish in environments where we can be who God's called us and created us to be. Yeah. We flourish when we can bring our gifts to the table and express them in a way that is authentically us. And obviously, God's given us boundaries, and he's ordered the world, and he's given us, the framework in which to live. But under that freedom of grace, man, is a lot of space to be yourself. And, in our culture, man, we place so much importance on being true to yourself. And that's not what you're talking about. What you're talking about is saying, hey, who has God created me to be? What kind of personality has God given me? And how can I leverage that and use that for his glory? And then how can I place myself in an environment around people that bring out the best in me? A couple years ago, let's say 10 years ago, I just started in ministry like full time. And I was sitting in my office one day, like prepping a message for the youth group that night. Mm-hmm. You were part of that youth group. This would have been, I was 22. You'd have been 15 or so. You were leading worship down at the house in Pickens.
So sorry for all that you had to deal with.
It was good stuff. It was good stuff. We had a lot of fun.
We had a lot of fun.
We had a lot of fights too, but we had a lot of fun.
Fights and fun, same.
Within a couple minutes of each other, probably. But I was sitting there prepping one day, and I was listening to a sermon while I was prepping a sermon. And at that point in time, like, I was still trying to figure out who I was as a communicator, and still am in some ways. But, I was really I was listening to a lot of different people that I thought were really good communicators and trying to glean and learn all I could from them. And the guy I was listening to that day, paused his sermon and looked right at the camera. And I'll never forget this. He said, somewhere out there today is a young pastor who thinks he has to be like someone else in order to be successful in ministry. And then he said this. He said, God can't bless who you pretend to be.
Oh, my word.
And dude, I will never forget that. And for me, that it floored me, because I'm like, well, these guys are, preaching the gospel in a way that, is relevant and powerful, and they're reaching people. And I want to do that. But that day was a reminder to me that I can't be a lesser version of someone else's gifting and ask God to bless that.
Sheesh.
That God's created me, and he's created you, and he's given me gifts and you gifts, and our job, our stewardship, if you will, is to, do everything that we can to show ourselves approved for the work that God has given us.
Dude.
So anyway, I think that, that all flows into this conversation. Like, there's some great podcasters I listen to, and they do a phenomenal job. You got guys out there like Joe Rogan who are sitting down every day for 3 hours and recording a podcast. I don't have that much content. I don't have that much time.
More time.
I don't have that much. Like, I'm not that charismatic. Like, I can't do that, and that's okay. My job and your job is to be who God's called us to be obedient today with what God's given us today, and just be faithful and consistent over time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I agree entirely. Indeed, let me thank you publicly for being my brother, but for also, like,
I had nothing to do with that.
I didn't either. That was funny. That wasn't intentional. I was actually trying to be sentimental.
My bad.
And endearing. But no, thanks for helping me grow over the last almost year now that I've been down here in Somerville. And, the proverb, a friend loves at all times, but a brother's born for adversity.
Yeah.
You and many other people, but because I'm looking at you and talking to you, I thank you for helping me grow and pushing me to become myself again in a lot of ways, in so many ways. And I'm not going to open up all the ways that you've helped me do that. But, I knew from like very early on at Pinewood that I wasn't going to have any option but to be myself down here because my brother is preaching every week. I've been sermon illustrations for as long as James has been preaching. And so
that makes it sound like I make fun of you every week.
You don't make, I'm saying some illustrations are pretty good. Some of them are,
you and Noah and Judah, you're all a walking illustration.
Yeah. You and Tara have adopted a third kid. That's what y'all say.
Yeah. We tell people we have a third child now. He just happens to be 23
and has a full beard.
He got a full beard.
No, true. And, no, thank you for that. And thank you to just Somerville Baptist, the church here, the staff that has welcomed me so graciously and quickly, and confidently too. It truly is hard to believe that when you this is something that you've learned, something I've learned. When you look back at your past, it's one of the most difficult things that I'm learning right now is that because Jesus has made me new in him, my past is actually dead. It actually is. It's forgotten. When Jesus looks at me, it ain't there anymore.
Yeah.
Like when God, my Heavenly Father, sees me, he sees his perfect Son's love perfected in me. And my past is gone.
Yeah.
It's dead. Song we're going to sing this Sunday at church says the life I lived is dead and gone. That resonates with me in so many ways, and I'm just thankful for that. And learning, over time, I think my definition of what God has done really continues to grow, and the goodness of God and his gospel and how deep it was, how actually life-changing it was, how eternally altering it is, just continues to expand. And I'm thankful for that. That's been one thing that I've learned. Let me talk about something I've learned about you.
Well, before you do, can I, about you mentioned what you said about the past sparked something in me.
Yeah.
I got a question a little while back from one of our people out at Pinewood who was having a conversation with one of her friends. And the question was raised, if God is willing to like forgive and forget my past. Let me see if I can pull the question real fast. If God's willing to like forgive and forget my past, then why does he why does he judge people? Like, if God doesn't care about our past, why does he judge people at the end of the age? And my response to that was, I said, God really does care about our past, but he cares more about our future.
Yeah.
And that's why Jesus came, so that we would have the opportunity to be forgiven for our past, so that our future could be better than the past.
Right.
God cares enough about our past that he doesn't want to leave us stuck in the sin and shame and guilt of our past.
Yeah.
He wants to move us into the future. And the song you mentioned, My Confidence, that's all that song is about.
Right.
It's saying, hey, my confidence for the future is in Jesus. I know where this is heading. I know where this is going. So I'm not going to grow faint. I'm not going to grow weary. My past life is dead and gone, and my future is Jesus.
That's exactly right.
I love that.
I love it too.
I can't wait to sing that song this weekend.
I'm excited about it.
I'm pumped. Who wrote that song?
Huh?
Who wrote that song?
Who wrote it?
Yeah.
An idiot.
No, I'm serious. Who wrote it?
I wrote it. I wrote the
did.
song. I wrote
Good
the song.
stuff.
I'm excited
Good
about
stuff. I love that.
it. Dad texted me, I think it was yesterday.
Okay.
And I sent, we had our Monday motivation.
Yeah.
And we do that for our team at Pinewood. And there are a few other people that have asked to receive those emails that I'll send to as well. But Dad was, yesterday I wrote yesterday's. And Dad just texted me and kind of encouraged me, long story short, to listen to myself. And
do you remember what I told you about a year and a half ago?
What?
You were going through a pretty difficult time, and we were on the phone. I remember I was sitting in my office, and you were asking you're just asking for kind of wisdom advice. And I was like, dude, you wrote the answer to your question in a song. And I don't remember if it was my confidence or something, but I that is exactly what Dad said. Like, dude, you know,
was it all around memorial stones of grace?
Maybe so. Yeah, I think so. Was it God of Jacob? Maybe. But I was like, dude, like isn't that the biggest challenge sometimes?
Yeah.
Like taking what we know to be true and then making it like applicable and real in our own lives.
Yeah. It is. It absolutely is. I knew that today we were going to be talking about things that you've learned and things that we've learned. And so I brought my songwriting journal.
Oh, there you go.
You gave me this.
Yeah.
Do you remember this?
Uh-huh.
Back, you and Tara did back in 2015. And it's now over halfway full of songs that are projects and that are being worked on and developed and stuff. Yeah, it will come out.
That's cool.
One day. But
that's cool.
There's a song in here, and this was one thing that I've learned, and I want to talk about what I've learned in you too.
We're talking about you.
Seen in you.
It's a whole lot more fun to talk about you.
I'm sure. But
can I also just say that you texted Dad, or Dad texted you? Dad texted you?
Dad texted me out of the blue.
So I called Dad the other day. He didn't answer. Then I got a text back from Dad. You know what it said?
What?
Call your mom. I was like, thanks, Dad. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dad knows what.
What's up, Dad? What's up?
He knows what's going on.
What's up, man? It's messed up.
It's messed up.
He's still mad about the AI thing. He hadn't forgiven me for that yet.
He actually loved that. He loved it. He thought it was hilarious.
He did.
What I was gonna
Sorry, go ahead.
What I was gonna say is this is kind of weird, but there's a song that I've written that says, "Hello, blue skies. Good evening, clear night. What are you trying to say to me? Is it all gonna be all right? Hello, you pretty sparrows, singing songs above the meadows. Are you trying to say to me that it's all gonna be all right? The wind blows and the leaves, they change. The floods rise, but the waves are sure to cease. The frost takes hold and the grass withers away. But in the springtime, the sun will rise because new growth is on the way."
That's good.
And that's something that I've learned over the last little bit is like nature screaming at us.
Yeah, it's good.
To look at it and to observe it.
Yeah.
And to ask questions about it.
Yeah.
And to become curious about
I love that.
the flowers and about the animals and about the trees and the clouds and the sky. It goes on and on and on.
Because when we do, what happens?
We come into contact with our Creator.
The Creator. Yeah.
And if there's one thing that I've learned through this podcast, dude, is that it has served me well to constantly come back to the truth. Constantly come back to the truth and come back to the source. And newsflash, people, you don't have to run very far to find the source.
Yeah.
It's all around us.
Yeah.
And it's within us. And it's outside, and you can just look at it.
Yeah.
And
the scripture says that, all things were created by him and through him and for him.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful. When you were saying about that, about creation, I thought about the line in the other song that we're working on right now for Mountain Experience.
Yeah.
I won't let the rocks outshout my praise.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that line to me is just this declaration of I see it. I may not understand it all, and there may be questions in my heart. I may have doubts and fears from time to time. But if all of creation is shouting your praise, I'm gonna shout even louder.
Yeah.
Because if the rocks understand how good you are, how much more should we understand the goodness of God? Those of us who have received His grace and understood the depth of forgiveness and experienced the freedom of His love. Like, I'm not gonna let creation that doesn't know the grace of God sing louder, praise more than me.
Dude, no way.
That's gonna be a fun song.
Yeah. I love the line.
What's the title of that song gonna be?
Shine. Yeah, because the end of it's just gonna be like everybody singing, "Shine your beauty, tell your story."
And that song actually goes hand in hand with another song called Glorious.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Creation born to sing your praises. That's who we are.
It's this question of like, who is God, right? And now that we know who God is, all right, this is who we are. Creation born to sing your praise. In our lungs.
Yeah.
I can't wait, man. That's good stuff. Yeah. All right, so now you can answer the question. What have you learned about me?
What have I learned about you?
Yeah. And we can spend much less time on this answer.
No, I don't want to. I'm like watching you learn how to be a dad.
Ooh, okay.
Which is fun.
Yeah.
And hilarious. So often. It's so funny, dude. Because Noah's like a clone of you.
Yeah.
And watching y'all interact and watching you love him and watching him love you and also watching you butt heads and
Dude,
and grow is so fun for me.
It's the most like frustrating and also hilarious thing when you see like your personality traits coming out in your children.
Bro.
Like I've got this and I've always had this bad habit of like when there's tension, like I try to diffuse with humor.
You do.
And like over the years, like sometimes it's helpful, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it just makes people mad.
What else have I learned about you, dude? And this is the truth, dude.
Okay.
Like I've been able to like watch you become like not just I'm not saying being a youth minister is not an honorable call, but I've watched you become like a shepherd of people.
Yeah.
On like a congregation.
Yeah.
And embrace that calling and run into that with a full steam ahead.
Yeah.
And it's been awesome. And just seeing you grow in that is incredible. And God, I believe, has always used you because you've opened yourself up to being used by Him, and you work hard. And it's evident that people are responding to your obedience to a faithful call. And that's pretty awesome. So hats off to you for embracing that. And I would say too, something that I've learned about you is that I think, and this is a cool thing, but I've seen you learn how to like interact with different people.
Yeah.
And learn how to gauge where people are coming from.
Yeah.
And that's a growth thing.
That's definitely true.
I would say that's something I've observed in you. And I would say some of that's because I'm around you again, that like you got to deal with me.
Yeah.
And I'm a lot to deal with. I'm kidding.
But seriously.
And, and I got a lot of thoughts and opinions that I run by you and stuff. And I'm much more of an emotional guy than you are. I would say.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And
that's true.
And
you're much more like just an outgoing people person in general. Like I'm not naturally the kind of like extroverted, outgoing personality that you are. Like you're naturally like people just gravitate to you and love you, and you love people, and I love people too. I just would like to stand on the wall by myself and observe.
And that's okay. And that's okay. But what I'm saying I've seen is like you like kind of you know that about yourself. You know that that's a tendency.
Yeah.
And you've like stepped away from that, and you're trying to ask the uncomfortable questions, which is like, how you feel about it?
Yeah.
Like, you okay?
Yeah, totally.
And kind of, trying to be empathetic and learn how to do that. And it's cool. It's cool because that's hard. I know that's hard for you to do that.
Totally.
And it's been really great because I think another thing that I saw for not the first time, but over the last little bit too, I think what I've seen as your brother and knowing where you come from and even knowing why you are the way that you are, like all that kind of stuff. And like as a communicator, dude, a quote that I've always like tried to hold close to me as like I'm learning to interact with people and have teams to lead and stuff is like somebody told me one time, if you want to impress somebody, show them your accolades.
Yeah.
If you want to impact them, show them your scars.
Yeah.
And like I've appreciated over the last little bit watching you pastor in a very honest way.
Yeah.
And watching you communicate in a very honest and open way. And I'm not saying like everybody has to know everything about everybody, but
sure.
I think that's
what
a way
Greg Rochelle says that.
You've embraced that.
Similar to that. You know, it's like people might admire you for your strengths, but they'll connect with you in your weakness. And Rich Wilkerson at Speak Conference recently, you know, made the comment about like as pastors, we don't want to, as shepherds, we don't want to bleed on people.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to get up there with, you know, just open wounds and you know, a lot of pain and hurt. But there is something, he went on to say, there is something powerful about when you can show someone a scar, you know, because that says, hey, the wound was real, but so was the healing.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's, you do a great job of that as well in shepherding people. Louis Giglio said recently that, you know, you want to grieve like a son, but, how do you say it? Grieve like a son, but, lead like a shepherd. You know, and I think that and he was talking about in the context of moments of pain and grief. And I thought that was just a profound way to put it, you know?
Yeah. I've heard it put too also, and this is kind of a different take on it, but be the leader that you would want to follow.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Be the type of leader that you would want to follow.
Yeah.
Modeling, vulnerability, honesty, your scars, but the leadership aspect of it is modeling the response to that.
That's it. Like, from the vulnerability, from the honesty, we got to point forward.
Yeah.
You know, and that goes back to your conversation about the future. You know, we've got to keep pointing people forward towards a deeper relationship with Christ, or else we're just, you know, we just become this mess of people that are, you know, showing our scars.
Yeah.
You know, we don't want to just do that. We want to say, hey, there's hope beyond this. There's healing beyond this, and it's found in Jesus.
Yeah, totally. Something else that I've learned, and this is about you, but also about Tara, is both you and Tara, and you, both of y'all are far more committed, and I'm learning about this because I've been able to kind of get on the inside of the household now in ways that I haven't in years. I do just show up. What has been something that I've learned about you, but also applied and will apply, Lord willing, one day to my household when I can afford a house, not an apartment. But kidding, it's just expensive to live down here. Everybody knows it. But is that y'all both are far more committed to parenting than you are to being the best at what you do occupationally. And I'm watching you in the tension of how do I balance these jobs? How do I balance being a dad? And I think what I see is you like value, I got to be a dad first. If I'm not a dad, I'm not going to be able to function everywhere else that I need to function. And that's been fun to see you to do that. And to see Tara do that. Tara, y'all both put so much work in.
Yeah, Tara's phenomenal. Yeah. And in a lot of ways, I would say she's probably, of the two of us, she's sacrificed a lot more career-wise than I have in order to be there for our boys. And she's changed jobs a few different times in order to prioritize the boys' schedule and, our schedule as a family with the church and ministry. 'Cause, and part of that is she feels the same calling that I do. Ministry is not just what I do, it's what we do as a family.
Yeah.
So I've gotta say that, I think to honor her, that she goes above and beyond to put her career on the back burner in a lot of ways to love and to serve her family and her church. And but yeah, in terms of the perspective, I think, it's got to be first and foremost, we're followers of Christ. So that's got to be number one. That's got to be the center of everything else. And then beyond that, for me, I'm next. I'm a husband, and then I'm a father, and then everything else underneath that. Because if my ministry to my family isn't healthy, then my ministry to the church and to other people's families can't be healthy, won't be healthy. So I think that's been all of life. The word balance is probably, a misnomer. I don't know that any season is balanced, but I would say all of life is a tension, between these priorities. How do we follow Jesus well, lead families well, be a husband, a spouse, father, mother, whatever, and then still fulfill the calling. And there is some tension there, you're right, but the end result, I think, is worth the difficulty and the tension. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally agree. I wrote a song called Tension.
Oh yeah, I heard that. It's a good one.
And it's from that exact same idea. I was listening to John Foreman talk about some of his song stories from Switchfoot. Yeah, brilliant mind, really out there as far as like the way that he likes to think. Yeah, and it makes sense to me. I really enjoy his illustrations and metaphors. But he talks about he didn't do this, but what I heard and kind of what I did with what he was saying was I personified tension as a woman.
Okay.
And because tension's going to always be here, might as well learn to dance with it.
Yeah.
And learn to get along with it and learn how to like interact with it. And that's just a cool thing. But you said something a minute ago that like there's not going to be stable seasons, but I think how we, and we've talked about this before on the podcast, I know, but how we respond to the seasons can very much so be consistent.
Sure, totally.
And our approach, our perspective can be consistent. And you look at the life of Jesus and how he carried himself through everything he did. There was a clear understanding of truth for him, of the truth. He is the truth, but he had this perspective on his people that he was around. He had a perspective on the storms that they were in. Yeah. He had a perspective on how even people treated him that did not alter. None of those things altered the way that he carried himself.
That's it. Well, and he had a rhythm of, spending time with his Father. Yeah. And I think that, that from the human perspective, that model of saying, hey, I'm going to go back to the source to find out who I am. I'm not going to run to the crowd. I'm not going to run to whoever or whatever the circumstances to define me. I'm going to the source. And that's a great model that I think we can learn from too. So, hey, as we close it down today, some of what we've been saying throughout this podcast, it reminded me of MacArthur's prayer for his son. You know the story.
Yeah,
you're familiar with that. I think that
tell it
to close. Okay, so the story. General Douglas MacArthur was stationed in Australia. He was the commander of the Allied forces in the Pacific, if I'm not mistaken, and he penned this prayer for his son. Not knowing if he would ever make it home after the events of World War II. And I think, so for me, this has been something. I remember Dad reading this, at one point in time in my life, and it really impacted me. And I think we're talking about family and priorities. This is kind of like a prayer for my boys, but also for us as men, for you as a listener today. I think this is a great reminder of the high calling that we have as people created by God to make a difference in the world, to lead into the future in a way that looks more like Jesus. And so, whether there's a season 2 or not, This is, to me, I think, a great way to cap season 1. What do you think?
Yeah, do it. I love this.
Let me read it?
I do.
Okay. Build me a son, O Lord, who'll be strong enough to know when he's weak, brave enough to face himself when he's afraid, one who'll be proud and unbending in honest defeat, and humble and gentle in victory. Build me a son whose wishes will not take the place of deeds, a son who will know thee, and that to know himself is the foundation stone of knowledge. Lead him, I pray, not in the path of ease and comfort, but under the stress and spur of difficulties and challenge. Here, let him learn to stand up in the storm. Here, let him learn compassion for those who fail. Build me a son whose heart will be clear, whose goal will be high, a son who will master himself before he seeks to master other men, one who will reach into the future, yet never forget the past. And after all these things are his, add, I pray, enough of a sense of humor, so that he may always be serious, yet never take himself too seriously. Give him humility, so that he may always remember the simplicity of true greatness, the open mind of true wisdom, and the weakness of true strength. Then I, his father, will dare to whisper, I have not lived in vain. And close it out.
Yeah. As always, golly, dude, that that just gets me.
It's good stuff.
That really does.
It's good stuff.
Yeah, we want to wish you a blessed summer, and join us this summer wherever you are listening from. Just being committed to the calling of God in your life, and being obedient where you are, and being faithful where you are, and knowing who you are, so that you can respond well and lead other people well through anything that you're walking through. We want to wish you a great Blue Flame Day. Just a reminder as we close up the first season and potentially end the show, or maybe not, depending on what y'all say.
Maybe not.
Blue Flame Way is integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all you do. And if there's one thing that we know and have learned and are constantly reminded of on this show and in life and in every way, is that what, James?
We don't know anything.
We don't know.
The only thing we know.
The only thing we know.
So we don't know anything.
No, we don't know.
Have a great Blue Flame Day.
See ya.